For a man who has came out and said he wants justice for his daughter, Steve Gonsalves is absolutely doing everything right now to ensure Bryan Kohberger has a mistrial. And when you actually think about it, it may not be too far-fetched. And this is exactly what we're going to talk about today. And if an open conversation is something you prefer, then this is the place for you. Welcome to The Point, so let's talk about it.
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
As a lot of y'all frequent viewers know, I haven't specifically railed or been harsh on any one of the family members or any of the surviving roommates in terms of talking about this case. But if you want justice, the only way we get the justice is through a fair and transparent hearing settled in the courts. And were we not all a little bit confused when Blum posted that article making allegations that Steve has been heavily involved with the investigation? He's been talking to the authorities. He's been receiving information. And then he turns around and says, none of this is true. I've never talked to this guy before. What he's saying is absolutely false. Now, he is a grieving father. We all understand that. And I'm not going to lie and say I understand where he's coming from. And I'm going to be pretty selfish in saying that I hope I never have to experience what he's going through. But listen to what he said in this interview on Banfield.
I have leaked footage. I've seen things that they may have not seen. I know for a fact the path that this white salon, this car took.
So we have talked about the gag order on previous videos. We've talked about the penalties. And the problem with what he's saying right here is he's making statements that he has leaked footage, and he's speaking as if this is a fact. He is speaking as if this is 100% verified. So does he have leaked footage? And where did that footage come from? My concern as somebody who is primarily focused on the truth is that him getting on here speaking things as if they are a fact is absolutely incorrect. The only way that leaked footage is 100% factual is if somebody on the investigative side of this case has given it to him. Now, is that what he is saying, or am I misinterpreting what he is saying? Because I'm interpreting all this as him saying he has received verified and validated camera footage of Bryan Kohberger circling the home, making specific stops, looking at specific vantage points. That is what I'm interpreting as. And the reason the prosecution needs to be concerned is he's out here making statements as if they are factual. But if they're factual, that means somebody is violating the gag order and they need to go before the judge to answer that. Or the father is risking Bryan Kohberger's right to a fair trial. Now, I understand a lot of people think, well, Bryan Kohberger did this. He has no more rights. What about the rights of the victims? Well, the way our judicial system is set up is everybody gets a fair shot. Everybody gets a fair day in court. And if we can do it for people who we believe are absolutely awful at the end of the day, then we can do it for everybody at that point. But getting on these interviews, and he is at the point now where he is making statements as if they are 100% factual, should have everybody concerned at this point. Listen, we have all seen a ton of clips. We've heard a ton of audio. Some of it, we all generally believe it to be true. Content creators have made videos on it. Others, people have found out to be completely false. The concern for everybody at this point is somebody who is reportedly very close to the investigation, very heavily involved in the investigation, and very outspoken, is now saying he has something he knows to be factual. When in all reality, he should not have anything that he knows to be factual in terms of leaked footage. Because if it is leaked, it came from somebody tied to the investigation. And if we hit a scenario where something like this comes up, and this whole trial is thrown out because of the words of an individual who is very clearly angry and very clearly heartbroken, then he's going to set himself up for future pain. I'm not pretending to understand what he's going through, and I don't think anybody on here is trying to pretend to understand what he's going through. But would you not think his primary concern should be justice? It should be a fair trial. And I don't quite understand how he can get on Banfield and say, I've got this leaked footage. People need to see what I see. But on 48 Hours, he says he's open to Bryan Kohberger not being the guy. So at that point, what does he have? He either has actual footage that is leaked and somebody's violated the gag order, or he doesn't. Because if somebody has leaked footage that shows the suspect driving around the home, stopping at certain points, looking into windows, then why get on 48 Hours and say you're open to this not being the suspect named? It's either factual or not factual at the end of the day. And he essentially just told the defense what the prosecution's game plan was for picking jurors.
They told us the ideal jury member was someone who had thousands of acres and had no time to watch TV.
The ideal jury member was someone who had no time to watch TV.
I mean, this is a classic situation of tell me something without saying it out loud. He said that their ideal juror was somebody who's farming 1,000 acres and has never had a chance to sit down in front of a TV and hear about this case. That should tell the defense right then and there that the person the prosecutor wants sitting on the jury is somebody who is completely ignorant of the situation. Because there's a lot of gray area in what we're being told. There's a lot of things missing in that PCA. There's a lot of questions that people are raising. And these are valid questions, and these are important questions. And these are questions that deserve to be answered. So their ideal juror is completely ignorant. And before you tell me, no, every juror has to be completely ignorant, that's absolutely incorrect too. A juror can have knowledge of the case. A juror could have seen certain video and images of a particular crime. What a juror can't have is bias. That is what they look for. So a potential juror putting on a questionnaire, yes, they've heard of the Idaho 4, they've heard of this tragedy, but they have no leanings towards one side or the other. That is a completely legitimate juror to have. There is nothing that says a juror has to be 100% completely ignorant. They just can't have a bias, one side or the other. If you disagree with any of that, you can let me know down in the comments below. But is it not seeming that depending on what interview Steve gives, his story or his point of view is kind of changing a little bit? But I thought him getting on there making statements as if they were factual should be quite alarming to everybody who believes Bryan Kohberger is innocent. Because this is the exact type of stuff a defense would use to set the foundation for a mistrial or some type of contamination in the jury pool or an appeal. As always, I appreciate all the thoughts, all the feedback, all the additional comments to the videos I make. Other than that, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being here. Y'all stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next one.